Quite possibly one of the most controversial designs to ever wear the Jeep 7-slotted grille. Today let's take a look at the 2016 Jeep Cherokee and go over some of the reasons why you guys tend to snatch these up. Now, nearly 2 years ago, I showed you guys a 2014 Jeep Cherokee Sport. Now, at the time, this model was all new, replacing the defunct Jeep Liberty in the lineup. Now, in that 2 years time frame, the Cherokee has become Jeep's best-selling vehicle, with the company moving over 220,000 units in the United States alone. It outsold even the iconic Jeep Grand Cherokee and the Jeep Wrangler by about 20 to 30,000 units. So when you have a model this important, you have to wonder, what did Jeep do to make this model so successful? Now, one thing that I definitely notated 2 years ago was the design of this car. It's still polarizing today, especially in a segment that it competes with. This is the compact to mid-size crossover segment, going with the likes of the Honda CR-V, the Toyota RAV4, the Nissan Rogue, just to name a few. And this car definitely stands out in this segment, especially when you compare it to all the bland and slightly boring Japanese rivals. Jeep's brand definitely has a lot of character and a lot of fans here in the United States. In fact, the company itself sold almost 900,000 units total here in the US. So again, Jeep has a pretty long heritage and a lot of fans here in the States. Now you can see the Cherokee for 2016 pretty much stands pat. The company did give the car a slight update last year for 2015. You can still choose this car between 4 different trims, starting at the base Sport, mid-level Latitude, off-road ready Trailhawk, and then of course my tester is the top of the line fully loaded limited trim. Now you can see the design of this car sports the familiar 7-slotted grille emblem, but you can see the headlight and the headlight and fog light design is very different. You have these LED accented turn signals and running lights at the top of the headlights, kind of making it look almost like a fish hook, almost like an eyebrow. Below that you have a separate projector beam halogen headlight. There is a bi-xenon option available on the Limited if you go for the luxury package, and then of course below that you have the fog lights. Now you can see a lot of you either love or hate the design. Honestly, I think I mentioned in my Sport review I'm indifferent to it. I think it's still kind of ugly, to be honest. I prefer the look of the Renegade over this model, but I do applaud Jeep for not giving it a baby Grand Cherokee look, such as the Compass, or the Jeep Compass and Patriot, which are basically slotted below the Cherokee. Now you can see around the side profile of the Cherokee, it has a traditional SUV look. These 18-inch chrome wheels come standard on the Limited. They are definitely not my taste. I don't like chrome wheels on practically any vehicle, and they certainly look a little bit tacky on this model, so I would probably recommend going for the Trailhawk, which gives you an off-road tire, an all-terrain tire with a 17-inch wheel. Now around back, the look is a little bit cleaner, almost like a baby Grand Cherokee look. The LED tail-lighted accents do come standard, and then of course my tester is the V6 model. This is an optional engine. You can distinguish it as the V6 model from the dual exhaust at the back. The 4 cylinders will have a single outlet exhaust. Now, size-wise, regarding the Cherokee, it's about 106 inches long. 106-inch long wheelbase, 183 inches in overall length. It's a little bit longer versus its Japanese competitors. It does make it a little bit heavier, but it gives you that more substantial, solid feel that some buyers are looking for. But let's take a look at the interior and see if it does carry over some of the recent strengths that Jeeps have become known for. Now, on chilly winter mornings, my tester is equipped with Jeep's remote start system. It's a very welcome option. To basically activate it, all you have to do is push the lock button and then double tap this button here and hold it. The car will beep and you can hear the engine starts right up. You can shut the engine off just by double tapping it again, and that shuts the engine off. Now, this is the smart key access system, so all you have to do is keep this key fob on your person, in your pocket, in your purse, and then to unlock the car, just touch the back of the door handle. That unlocks the car for you. Now you can see the interior of the Cherokee is certainly very nice. It's very uncharacteristic of the earlier Jeeps, which were well known for having a very cheap interior. Now this top-of-the-line limited model does have a very interesting color combination with the blue leather, the brown inserts, along with the dark wood grain trim accenting the doors. It actually looks quite tasteful. It looks really good with the silver exterior color. Now, some of you may not like this, but I applaud Jeep for going with somewhat more of a bolder interior design color theme. Now, stepping inside the vehicle, of course, because this is an SUV, it gives you a nice high step-in height. You have a very nice commanding view of the road, and one thing I'm noticing immediately is just how much wider and taller the Cherokee feels compared to like a Honda CR-V or a Toyota RAV4, for example. Now, again, push button start is standard, but first let me shut the door. You can hear the door. It could be a little bit more solid in its thunk. I was a little disappointed considering just how heavy and big this car does feel. Now you can see to start the engine up, this push button start, or the start stop button, does come standard on the limited trim. All you have to do is put your foot on the brake, push this button here to fire it up. And of course, what you're hearing is the up-level engine. This is the 3.2-liter Pentastar V6, the only 3.2-liter or the only vehicle to come equipped with the 3.2. And it's pretty much a modern V6. The Pentastar V6 has been around for a few years now, but we'll go into the test drive and I'll show you guys how it moves along this Cherokee later on. And you can see the interior quality in here is pretty good. Even that base Sport, if you guys remember that base Sport I showed you guys 2 years ago, you do have the same materials in here. Soft touch with some stitching on the dash. The entire upper portion here is soft touch. The door panels here are the same soft touch materials. A very nice low gloss graining. Very nice stitched leather on the door. Armrest here with that wood grain accents here. The window is automatic up, down, one touch for both front windows. Not the rear windows, but I'm not really expecting too much. This is not a premium luxury vehicle. Now, the steering wheel I really like. It's a nice high quality leather wrapped steering wheel. The stitching feels good. It's a pretty thick rim. I even like the design with the Jeep logo. All the buttons are pretty well laid out. There are a good amount of buttons here. This controls the driver assistance function that my tester has as part of the technology group. As a typical Chrysler product, you still have those stupid controls here for your audio switches back here. This controls your volume, and then on the other side here it controls your presets for your radios, as well as changing the station. Now you can see the gauges on this limited trim are a little bit different from the base Sport. You do have a nice colorful display right there in the center between the two, between the TAC and the Speedo. It's controlled via this controller here. You can choose between your vehicle info, your driver assistance stuff, your fuel economy information, trip information, start stop information. That's a new feature for 2015. Your audio, and then of course any kind of stored error messages. I usually leave it on the speedometer mode. I like how it gives you that digital Speedo readout. Some of the Japanese competitors don't offer a feature like that. Now you can see the centerpiece of this center stack is Chrysler's Uconnect head unit system. Now this is the up-level 8.4-inch touchscreen display. Now I've said before, it's one of the best in the business. Now it's definitely the best in terms of the American competitors compared to Ford Sync, which is about to be or the My 4 Touch, which is about to be replaced with Sync 3. I haven't had a chance to test that yet. Or GM's Chevrolet MyLink option. I like the Uconnect the most. I like the big 8.4-inch screen. A new feature that Chrysler or Jeep did introduce for 2016 is the fact that you can rearrange the icons in here, so you can drag and drop kind of like your iPhone. So let's say, for example, I don't want my heated steering wheel icon there. All I have to do while the vehicle is stopped, of course, let's say I want to move Pandora down there. I just have to push or tap that, hold it. You can see I can pretty much drag it and replace that with the Pandora logo there. It's very nice. I actually prefer to have the heated seat controls or the heated steering wheel controls there. This is how I have it set up, but again, it's nice that Jeep gives you that customizable option. And again, you can see the touchscreen itself, very responsive, very quick to use or easy to use, and the graphics are pretty crisp. Now, looking at your navigation function here, going to view map, this is basically a Garmin-based navigation system. It basically works like all the aftermarket systems, so if you guys are used to using that, you're gonna like this. You're gonna find this to your liking. It's pretty easy to use. Your phone controls here, Bluetooth is standard on every Cherokee model, even the base model, so again, you kind of expect that feature. When you put the vehicle in reverse, you do have a backup camera that's standard on the Latitude trim and up. It's one of the reasons why I would tell you to go for the Latitude. It does have trajectory. It has front and rear parking sensors on my particular model, and it also has Jeep's perpendicular and parallel parking assist function. So this is the car that will basically park itself a parallel space, or it'll back into a spot for you as well. So it's nice that Jeep gives you that option. Now looking at the rest of this center stack, you have your dual zone automatic climate control functions here. I like that Jeep gives you hard buttons. You can also go and put the climate controls on the screen right here, which I don't really know why you do that. I would just prefer to use the hard button controls. Now, my tester does have the optional four-wheel drive system that includes a low range. This is the Active Drive 2, as Jeep calls it. There's an Active Drive 1 that's standard. Active Drive 2 adds the low range, a different gearing programming, as well as the off-road suspension underneath the vehicle. Now, one transmission choice on all Cherokees, a 9-speed automatic built by ZF. This is one of the first 9-speed automatics to ever hit the market, and when I tested it in the Cherokee with the 4-cylinder, I was rather disappointed, but I'm going to keep an open eye with this V6 model. It is basically the same transmission you're going to find in the Acura TLX, the Chrysler 200, the Range Rover Evoque as well. It does have a manual mode here. The shifter itself, I like the big knob. It doesn't have any paddles on the wheel, but it does offer a sport mode here. You can see with the terrain selector here, you can choose between automatic, snow, sport, and then sand and mud in addition to the low range. And Jeep even gives you a nice little cool graphic representation here when you are switching between the modes. My tester is missing a $1,500 panoramic sunroof option. It's either the big roof or no sunroof. The center console here is not adjustable, but it is very large. There's lots of storage in there. Your USB is down there, in addition to being in there with an aux and a 12-volt. It's nicely leather padded. In terms of storage, Jeep did a pretty good job as well. There's good storage here, large cup holders here, a nice glove compartment that's not lined with felt, but it is damped. It goes in pretty deep. And one thing I really like, the passenger seat has this little storage area right here, so you can hide your stuff in here, maybe some of your drug paraphernalia. I'm just kidding, but it's nice to see that Jeep does give you some good storage options. Now overall, I'm pretty impressed with the interior of this car. It certainly feels special, and it certainly looks pretty nice. A little bit more interesting to use versus some of the blander Japanese competitors, but let's take a look at the back seat and see how much space this Cherokee offers. Now, the back seat of a compact SUV is judged pretty harshly by consumers. They definitely want this kind of vehicle to be practical, to offer that higher stance, seating position, and offer the practicality you expect of a sedan. And the Cherokee certainly delivers. The back seat has a good amount of room. I like the fact that the seats themselves are a little bit higher, so you do sit up above the front seats, and then you can see there's pretty good foot space here, pretty good leg room. Of course, I'm only 5'7", so this is a pretty nice back seat for me. Head space is pretty good. Some competitors do offer a little bit reduced headroom, and I like the fact that Jeep gives you some rear vents back here. There is one map pocket in the driver's seat, and then when you shut the door, you have the same soft touch materials with that silver painted plastic door handle, and then some more stitching on the armrest. There's no heated rear seat option, but Jeep does give you a nice center armrest here with some cup holders. The seats themselves, they do recline, and they are a 60/40 split fold down. Now, my tester is missing the power tailgate option. That is part of a luxury package that my tester does not have. But you can see the cargo area is probably where the Cherokee falls a little bit short. You're looking at about 25 cubic feet of space with the seats up. Fold them down, you're gonna get about 55. The competitors offer about 5 to 15 more cubic feet of space. You can see the liftover height's a little bit high, so Jeep does need to work on giving you a little bit more cargo space, but nevertheless, it is still pretty practical. Underneath this floor here, you do have some more storage, and then you'll find as well a temporary spare tire with an optional full-size spare tire if you guys want it. The hood of my tester, I'm pleased to say I have the up-level engine. This is the 3.2-liter Pentastar V6. It's a $1,500 option if you guys want this V6. Your standard fare is that 2.4-liter Tiger Shark engine that I showed you, the 4-cylinder in the Sport model. Now, compared with the 4-cylinder, this makes a pretty good amount of power, especially for the class. 271 horsepower and 239 pound-feet of torque. It's paired with only a 9-speed automatic transmission, slightly different programming from the 4-cylinder. And then, of course, you take your pick between front-wheel drive or the all-wheel drive system, which is the Active Drive 1, or my tester, which is the Active Drive 2, which gives you a low-range gearing. Now, fuel economy definitely varies based on which four-wheel drive system you get. Not only does it vary with the engine. Now, with the Active Drive 2 and four-wheel drive, This combination yields about 19 city, 26 highway on regular gas. If you guys get the active drive 1, it's 20 city, 28 highway. Compared with the 4-cylinder, the V6's penalty is only about 1 to 2 mpg. So for me, it's a no-brainer, especially considering the fact that the Cherokee weighs over 4,000 pounds, which is pretty darn heavy for the class. 0 to 60 times, they're in the 7-second range, but let's get on the road and see how it all works together, shall we? So the weather's not really cooperating today, but some say this may be the best time to drive an all-wheel drive or 4-wheel drive vehicle like this. So when I showed you guys the Cherokee back 2 years ago when I drove that 4-cylinder model, I was rather disappointed with it. I'm hoping that this V6 Limited will kind of ease my mind on that and make me like this car a little bit more. So let's take a look at this Limited with the V6 and see how it drives, shall we? So one thing I'm immediately noticing about the Cherokee with the up-level motor is it definitely suits the character of this vehicle a lot more. I mean, the Cherokee is basically been packing on the Twinkies compared to its Japanese competitors. And it definitely needs the V6 upgrade. The V6 is very smooth, it makes a decent noise, and it has kind of an effortless feel that you don't typically get in this class. Most of the 4-cylinders in the class feel taxed and overworked. In this car, it feels rather nice, actually. Now this car does have automatic start-stop. When you come to a full stop here, you can see the engine shuts off. One thing I like about the car is the steering wheel can be turned and the engine usually will not come back on. Some competitors I've tested basically turn the engine right on immediately after you turn the wheel while you've come to a stop. Now this does use a slightly different version of the 9-speed automatic transmission. You can only get the 9-speed on this car. And you can see it has the same problems that the other 9-speeds from Chryslers that I've driven, or at least the FCA Corporation. It's a little bit jerky. To really get it going, you have to literally bury your foot all the way to the floor, and then it'll finally downshift. But most of the times I found the transmission to be hunting and not really knowing what gear it needs to be in, to be honest. Now, when it finally gets going, the Cherokee with the V6 will get to 60 in the lower 7-second range, which is not bad. It's about a second to a second and a half quicker than most of the 4-cylinder competitors and nearly 2 seconds quicker than the 4-cylinder Cherokee. And it makes a pretty decent noise. I do notice it gets a little bit grainy up in the high revs, but what the Cherokee really excels with is on-road dynamics. This car feels incredibly solid when you go down the road. The ride quality is one of the best ride qualities in the business for this compact SUV class. It's very planted, it's very buttoned down. It really soaks up all the bumps, all the imperfections in the road. The steering is very numb. This is not a sporty vehicle by any means. In fact, Jeeps in general to me have never been sporty, so I'm not really anticipating this to be sporty like the way a Mazda CX-5 would drive, but it's not like it's cumbersome. The steering is just very light. You do feel the car's size and weight, and some of you may like that feeling of solidity. Those of you who prefer something sportier will definitely be checking out the Japanese competitors, but the visibility in here is also pretty good. You have very large side mirrors, a nice view of the road, and overall it's just a very nice, pleasant car to live with and drive. Just don't expect to be taking on your favorite back roads with the Cherokee. It's just not designed to attack corners like some of the competitors will. Now, getting up to highway speeds, you can see I have left the transmission in its sport setting. What I notice is it's a little bit better in terms of shifting the gears more abruptly, or at least more intuitively, but I notice it just kind of stays in 4th gear, and it won't shift any higher than 4th, so I kind of find it a little bit annoying. So most of the times I actually left the car in its automatic setting, which usually I don't do. Usually I will leave it in its sport setting, but Jeep still has some work they have to do to address their sport tuning in their transmission. Now, one thing that my tester has is the technology package. Now, that basically gives you full speed adaptive cruise control. So all you have to do is turn it on, push the set button here, and then adjust the speed that you want to go to. Jeep even gives you a very nice information screen there right in the middle. That shows you your driver assistance. Now, when you do have the active adaptive cruise control set, the system works very well, surprisingly. This is my first time really testing out the adaptive cruise system in a Jeep, and it does have what they call their lane sense departure warning system, so the vehicle will also keep you in the lane. One thing that you will notice is the annoying transmission. It's constantly hunting between gears and trying to select the right gear. And you will feel that when the adaptive cruise is on. You can see there's a little Easter egg in the screen where it shows the old Willys Jeep representing the car in front of me. And you can see you can adjust the distance with these buttons right here. I like to keep it on the closest distance just because that's my comfort level. You can adjust it based on yours. And one thing that I really like is the adaptive or the lane keep function. This car will actively steer you and keep you in the lane. It won't do it all the time. If you take your hands off the wheel, the system will yell at you just to keep your hands on the wheel, but it does give you partially semi-autonomous driving, and that's one thing I really like about this car, is it offers that feature, and some of the competitors honestly don't offer that full range of driver assistance. Now, one thing I also noticed about this car is it's incredibly quiet on the highway. Road noise is very hushed. The really thing you're really going to hear is the engine noise when you get it up in the higher rev range. Luckily, the transmission doesn't really like to let the engine rev up that high, even though this V6 does require a little bit more revs just to keep it get it going. Now, regarding the fuel economy over my week's worth of testing with this car, some of you are probably concerned, is the V6 more of a gas guzzler? Now, I didn't really have a chance to test the 4-cylinder out for the longest time, but I will say that Renegade with the 4-cylinder, same powertrain, didn't really get the best gas mileage. It got in the low 20s, like 20 miles per gallon around city. I got it close to 30 around the highway. This, with the V6, I've been averaging about 18 miles per gallon in mostly city driving. Now, that's pretty thirsty. That's because I partially have a lead foot. On the highway, I did get it up to around 24, 25. Which is thirsty by class standards. Of course, you do have all that power of the V6, and the Cherokee, unlike its competitors when you get it with the tow package, will tow up to 4,500 pounds. So again, this is more of a useful, utilitarian, more masculine type of vehicle versus the somewhat scrappy feeling, tinny feeling competitors that you get from Japan. Anyways, regarding the price of the Cherokee, you'd expect this vehicle to be right in line with its competitors for starting price, and the base sport model with two-wheel drive or front-wheel drive will start around $23,500, which is roughly in line with its competitors. Our Toyota RAV4, surprisingly, is about $1,000 more, so it is surprising to see some of the competitors be a little bit more expensive than this car. Now, my tester is a limited trim. Now, if you guys want four-wheel drive, it will cost you about $2,000 more to get four-wheel drive. Now, with the limited trim that my tester is, it starts at around $30,900, which is a pretty good chunk of change, especially for a compact SUV. Now, one thing that Jeeps do offer is a plethora of options, and mine certainly has a good amount. My particular tester has the Safety Connect package, which is the blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic alert. That's about $1,000. $1,500 for the technology group, which is the steel. That gives you the full range adaptive cruise, the active lane keeping assist, or lane sense, what Jeep calls it, rain sensing wipers, automatic high beams, and along with other niceties. I mean, that's $1,500 is pretty much a steal for me. It also gives you the automatic emergency braking, where if you're not paying attention, this car will hit the brakes for you if you aren't paying attention. Now, my tester also has the $1,000 for the Uconnect 8.4-inch screen with the nav function, and another $400 for the upgraded 9-speaker audio, which actually does sound pretty good. Now, all in, my tester is a rather eye-watering $38,400. Now, that doesn't even include the luxury group that my tester is also missing. And if you guys equip this car fully loaded, it'll get above $40,000, which is more expensive than a Honda CR-V, a Toyota RAV4, a Mazda CX-5. Granted, the Jeep is more off-road capable. You can actually take this vehicle off-road. It does feel more substantial. It does tow more. So there is features that the Jeep offers that some competitors don't offer. And keep in mind, one thing I did notice about the Cherokee is there's a lot of rebates and incentives. And even though this car is more expensive at $38,000, if you wanted to actually purchase this vehicle, when you actually go to the local dealership, I've seen most dealers, at least in my DC area, are taking about $5,000 to $7,000 off the MSRP. So that puts it more in line with what you're going to pay in the real world for like a Toyota RAV4 or a Honda CR-V. Anyways, I hope you guys have enjoyed my overview of this 2016 Jeep Cherokee with the 3.2-liter V6. If you guys are also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, make sure you follow me on Instagram. Like us on Facebook, and as always, keep subscribed to the YouTube channel so you can keep watching all the latest reviews. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll catch you all in the next video.